Alright, today I'm going to be talking about density, more specifically the non-layer density column experiment that you can do with your class. This experiment is useful in a second to fourth grade classroom when talking about density. For this experiment, you're going to need clear cups, varying liquids such as honey, corn syrup, maple syrup, whole milk, dish soap, water, vegetable oil, rubbing alcohol, and lamp oil. You can add food coloring to the water and the rubbing alcohol for contrast, so that way they stand out in the column. Next, what you'll do is start by pouring the honey into the cylinder, and it's very important to slowly layer these because you don't want any to get on the sides and be able to mix in with the other liquids. And they'll slowly even themselves out since they all vary in their densities, but for the initial pouring them in, it would be much easier to just keep them separated. And you will also need a turkey baster or a pipette, and you can use that to help you layer in the other liquids. And after the honey, you're going to slowly layer in the milk and the dish soap, and try not to let them touch the sides again because it will start to mix in with the others. And then starting with the water, you're going to hold the tip of the baster against the side of the container close to the layer of dish soap. And you're going to squeeze it gently so that way the water flows down the sides of the container and on top of the dish soap. And then you'll move the baster up as it's needed. And then you'll layer the vegetable oil, rubbing alcohol, and the lamp oil in the same way, allowing the layers to settle and separate between going to the next layer. And then you will, and then you're going to release a penny into the top layer, and it will gently slide through all of the layers. And you can take different objects like a popcorn kernel or a safety pin and watch and see how far they will get through before they stop. And if you have a bigger cylinder, you can use things like a cherry tomato or a ping pong ball and see if they can get all the way down into the honey. And to explain this to your class, you can talk about how density is basically how much stuff is packed into a particular volume. And it's like a comparison between the object's mass and volume. And whenever you're teaching this, a good equation to teach your class would be density equals mass divided by volume. And based on the equation, if the weight or the mass of something increases but the volume stays the same, then the density goes up. And if the mass increases but the volume stays the same, then the density goes down. Lighter liquids like water and vegetable oil are less dense than heavier liquids like honey and corn syrup, so they float on top of the heavier liquids. And the same amount of two different liquids you used in the container will have different densities because they have different masses.